Janice, are you there?
At your service, sir.
Give me some of that dating foolishness.
Will do, sir.
So
and it's even Suzanne, like stupid stuff. Like I can't cook.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Things,
That's what I
you
mean.
know, like
Yeah.
like I should be able. Like last night we were making Salisbury steak, and Luke was like, "All right, I don't know how to make the gravy. Like you make the gravy part." And I was like, I don't know how to make brown gravy. And I'm like, I'm 33 years old. I should probably know how to make brown gravy at this point in my life.
And
so it's like dumb stuff like that.
Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. Shout out to Patreon gang member Mr. Anonymous for this video. This is his message. Just joined today and I found this video that is Gold Plus. Keep my name out of this video. You got it, Mr. Anonymous. Salute! And Patreon gang, salute! You're sending us video topics that are pure gold. We're working on them. This video is from Susan Venker. We've highlighted her a couple times on this channel. Make sure you check out her podcast. The link to the full video is in the description. It's almost an hour long, and we're gonna highlight the part of that podcast where her guest talks about how she's been groomed to act like a man. We're gonna let her go for almost 3 minutes. Pay close attention to what she's saying because this video goes very well with yesterday's video about the rich leftover women. Let's get it. Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we manning, we.
So I think for me, I have never labeled myself as a feminist or anything like that. I actually have always appreciated the men in my life and never felt like I was held back by the patriarchy or anything like that. But I think where my issue comes in is that whether it be through culture or college, or I don't know when it was, a lot of this indoctrination happened to me. And so I was living this career woman lifestyle. And if you're going to work like that and you're being trained to perform and act like a man and work, because let's be honest, men are very successful, especially in the field that I was in. I was a loan officer for a bank. You start to develop habits and certain ways of thinking, which I did, that are very dominant. Not that that's bad, but if you can't turn that off when you go home and you're in a relationship with a husband who's also dominant, it causes a lot of strife. And for me, I think there was I don't know if you would say this underlying power struggle, but that's maybe what it kind of was, of who's actually in control and, running the show, because that's how it was for me in my business. So that a lot of that just came home. And, in the coaching that I've done with you, Suzanne, a lot of what we've been working on is when your husband comes home and there's something that you would typically, argue with or, be combative about, you just say okay, honey, or, sure, that's fine, whatever. And so ultimately, I think one of the biggest things that hit home with me that you have taught me is you have to say in your head over and over and over again, surrender. And that is very hard for somebody who's taught to be a bulldog and at work, but not just at work. You can't separate it from work. It's just kind of ingrained in your personality after working that way so long in an industry. And so if you can't take that out of your relationship, you're going to remain at war with your spouse, or in competition at least. And that's not good. So I recognize that. And I am still very much who I was trained to be in my job and just my personality, who I am. I'm still that person. So retraining myself has been pretty difficult. And it's something that it's not going to happen overnight. And I recognize that, but it just takes practice like anything else. I used to play basketball, and to get any better, you just had to practice over and over again. So I'm trying to practice it. And that's what I meant by I am a new woman in training, I guess you would say. I'm still the same me, but trying to do things differently.
Let's give you a summary of some of the key things she said. Janice, work it.
Indoctrination. Career woman lifestyle. Trained to perform and act like a man. develop habits and a way of thinking that are very dominant. Causes strife when not able to turn dominant mindset off. Underlying power struggle. Very hard to surrender for someone that's been trained to be a bulldog. Remain at war/competition with your spouse because of mindset. Retraining herself has been very difficult. Change is not gonna happen overnight.
Like I always say, focus on the information that's consistent. She's not using these words by accident. What happened to her didn't happen to her by accident, and we're gonna show you a clip we've used in another video to give you a better understanding of what's going on here. Check this out.
The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black. You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
Damn! You see why they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Or you can't make a hoe a housewife? Or once a cheater, always a cheater. We did not get here in a day, just as Rome was not built in a day. Look at this graph from yesterday's video.
Marriage rates in China have plummeted. About 6.8 million couples tied the knot last year, the lowest since records began in 1986. In the last decade alone, the number of marriages has halved.
The graph resembles a staircase, with each year showing a gradual decline in the number of marriages, as if each year marks a step down in the marriage rate. Now take a look at this other graph.
Women made up about 20% of Chinese higher education. By 2019, 52% of university students are women.
It shows the opposite trend for female students in higher education. Their numbers are on the rise. Therefore, there appears to be a correlation between the declining marriage rates, declining birth rates, and the increasing enrollment of women in higher education. Like she said, these women are trained to perform and act like men. And it's been going on like this for decades. And that's why you're gonna love this next clip. Pay attention.
That should be me up there. You know, I'm missing out on all these things. And so eventually I was not happy with my son's behavior. You know, he had become like kind of aggressive and was just acting out and being bad. And I was sick of being like angry at my husband, but for things that weren't his fault really. And just unhappy with my life in general. And so that was like about a 3-year buildup. And finally I was like, Luke, we cannot do this anymore. And he was like, then quit. And so that was like a big day for us when he finally, you know, we had like wrestled with all these different things and tried as many things as we could to make it work, doing what we were doing and couldn't. And he was like, just don't do it. And he was like, and if it doesn't work out, you being at home with the kids, then you can always go back to your job or find another job. Like, it's not a final thing.
Men's education is not the same. We are still expected to provide and sacrifice for women and society. Can you imagine if her husband said, you know what? I'll quit my job and become a house husband. We made a must-watch video to give you an idea of what that looks like. It's pure gold to see how she has a big problem with her husband being broke and dependent on her. And that's universal, fellas. Check this out.
妈妈她也问你，村这儿有一张，假如你没有车，假如你也没有房，赶紧靠边儿，别把路来挡。
Women are women first. Female nature is universal. Study the universal language called womanese. If you are in your 30s or early 40s, you don't have time to wait for things to get better, because things will only change if something catastrophic happens. And when the catastrophe happens, you're still dealing with women who've been indoctrinated from the day they were born. Like the KGB defector said, it would take another 20 to 15 years to educate a new generation of common sense people.
I 100% agree. And I think that there's been a big shift between your generation and my generation. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. With your generation, I feel like you all knew and expected and just accepted that it was part of life. Like, I'm going to have kids and a family. And my generation, if you talk to these college girls, because I have them that babysit for me, they're like, I might get married, I might have kids. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to change your tune when you're 30 and your internal clock starts ticking. But like, it's a different expectation now than it used to be, than it's been for, all of history. And so that's very sad to me, because by the time that clock does start ticking inside of them, they're like, oh yeah, I actually do want kids and a family. They're old,
Right.
That's a problem.
That's exactly my point. That's the wrong time to be doing it. And so that's why we're in such trouble. We really are.
We made this channel for men. That's why we started this channel. Not because we hate women. It's because men's voices need to be heard, and men need to be educated on the foolishness that's going on so they can protect themselves at all times. The channel is called Manosphere Highlights Daily. We highlight men's issues, female nature, and the effects of society on human behavior. We encourage you to become the best man that you can be. But if you want to know how to do push-ups, then you have to go to the push-ups channel. If you want to know about money, you have to go to the money channel. I've said it many times on this channel that I took my talents overseas. I had to look for content that could help me with that. So I watched a combination of channels: push-up channels, money channels, travel channels, language channels, and manosphere channels. Everything that I had to do to become the best version of myself. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. You know why? Because we men, ain't we? We men, ain't we? Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.